Today on Locked On Rockies, a tight ball game slips away late. I think we've heard that story before.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 8th day of August in the year 2024. I am your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and available to you on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies, because when you like the videos, when you give those 5-star reviews, when you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you're helping the show grow and supporting here on Locked On Rockies. So thank you so much for all your support all season long, as you Rocky fans have been awesome with your support of the show. Today, we're going to break down the game last night, talk a little bit about Victor Vodnik and the closing situation for the Colorado Rockies, and why was Ryan Feltner removed so quickly in that game with very little note? We'll talk about that coming up on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we dive into all the fun, just want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. All right, folks. So last night, good tight ball game, close ball game. Rockies offense is, getting a little stifled from what was it? Blackburn there, I think, was the starter for the Mets, who gives up the 5 hits and an earned run, walks 2, strikes out 6. But the Rockies still weren't really able to get a lot going there, a lot of consistency there against Blackburn. And it was supposed to be a matchup between Ryan Feltner and Blackburn, but Feltner exits the game after 1. We'll dive into that in a little bit. But that opens up the bullpen day, and the bullpen does really well up until, unfortunately, Victor Vodnik has, arguably one of his worst appearances in his young career and during this season. And these type of things are bound to happen. I mean, especially as you're looking at the Rockies without a closer, they're looking at a situation in which they've been using Victor Vodnik, a young guy, a lot. So, unfortunately, as much as we hate the usual excuse of that's baseball, that unfortunately is baseball sometimes. And Victor Vodnik spoke with Manny Randall of MLB.com here, and just to give a little insight into why the Rockies have been so confident in Vodnik here. Bud Black tells Manny, when we started pitching him in the 8th or a little deeper in closer games, it seemed like his poise improved, his calmness, Black said before giving a couple of examples. There was a 3-1 slider he got for an out on Tuesday against the Mets' Harrison Bader. He threw a slider when the guy's throwing 97, 98. He threw a 3-2 slider against JD Martinez in New York to end the game on July 14th. I just think his mix of pitches and getting in the zone and the big misses aren't there. I think earlier in the year we saw bigger misses and catchers jumping, catchers flailing. So a little bit more control. And Vodnik has been able to be pretty solid for the Rockies in a recent stretch, especially here, going on from a little bit more from Manny's piece here after breaking down the issues here with what happened on the game. Unfortunately, I don't need to, we don't need to dive too much into what happened. It was just, walks problem, triples problem. That type of stuff. The wheels just fell off. So here's what Black had to say after the game. Nobody's invincible. I mean, look across every game that's been played this season. You look at the guys that are pitching at the back end of the bullpen. There are guys who have hiccups, right? I mean, look at the Mets guys. Look at Diaz, a really good pitcher who has had his ups and downs, especially as a closer. You have to pound that strike zone when you have good stuff. A fastball in the upper 90s, good slider, changeup. Vodnik has got the weapons. So there, there's a little bit, and Vodnik himself is weighs in on this in this same piece here. It's just one of those things you've got to let go. I was trying to be a little too fine tonight and got behind in counts that I should be ahead of. I just kind of let it get away from me. That's something I've been dealing with earlier in the season, just trying to stay under control, trying to breathe, trying to relax, but then knowing when to be that dog and go after it. So a learning moment, absolutely, and still a situation in which, if this is the learning instances that Vodnik has to go through in order to develop more into a more solid piece of the bullpen and maybe even a closer. You're going to go through games like that. You're going to go through stretches like that where it just ain't working. And a good team like the Mets and a team that can do damage like the Mets will take advantage of it. But one more little note here from Manny Randawaz. Vodnik learns high leverage lesson. Nobody's invincible on MLB.com. Vodnik, whom Colorado acquired last summer in the deal that sent reliever Pierce Johnson to the Braves prior to the trade deadline, has had his ups and downs in his first full MLB season. But entering Wednesday, the 24-year-old right-hander hadn't been scored upon in 5 consecutive outings and 8 of his past 9. His recent success lowered his ERA to 3.64. Then came the 9th inning on Wednesday night when Vodnik was looking to maintain a 2-2 tie to give the Rockies a chance for a walk-off win. This time, though, things went south. So, really good insight there. Really good. I like the breakdown. I like the thought process. I like how much confidence the Rockies have in Victor Vodnik and how much they believe in him. But he's also a young arm that has been used a lot. And it's kind of just a weird thing, right? Like, because if it's a young pitcher, if it's a young rookie, we should be encouraged by the fact that he's pitching so much. We should be encouraged by the fact that he's been able to handle himself more often than not this season, been able to be really solid for the Rockies, and actually a spot in the bullpen where you don't hold your breath as much when he comes out of the bullpen compared to some of the other members of this bullpen. So gonna have to just brush it off. I mean, that's how it goes, right? The series win is still on the table. There's still a chance that Vodnik, maybe he'll see some action today. I guess it depends on where the Rockies are at and what the situation in the game is like. But bad games happen. And that's happened a lot for the Rockies this year, obviously. But I'm not going to sit here and get all fired up and do a bunch of, like other losses that we've had. Because you know what? That one's just, you got beat. And you didn't get beat. You got beat by good offense, basically, and it's a bummer that when the out of all of the pitchers the Rockies had to use yesterday, which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the Rockies had to use 7 pitchers yesterday. One of them, unfortunately, was unable to get the job done. But I'm not going to sit here and condemn Victor Vodnik and everything for that blown opportunity. It's just another learning bump in the road. I mean, that is a moment where you're tied. You have to maintain that lead. That's the lesson, there. It's like, this is a game in the middle of August, not doing much in terms of the big picture stuff and playoffs and all that, but it builds your mentality for those moments. It builds up your confidence in those moments. Those are, whether it be a tie game in the middle of August or a tie game down the stretch in September, you got to be confident in yourself and in your abilities to go up there and get the job done. And more often than not, Victor Vodnik has done that for the Rockies. So it's especially as a young guy. I just worry again in how much use he's been getting. What does that mean for arm health? What does that mean going forward for the Rockies? We'll see, right? Because we've been seeing a lot of we've been seeing a lot of pitcher injuries for the Rockies of late, and a lot of issues with health. So I really don't want to, I don't want to think too much about it. I don't want to overthink it, but it is something to at least keep in mind. But now the nice thing will be the bounce back. If Victor Vodnik is able to bounce back from this and go on another stretch, then that he's able to take that, learn from the lesson, grow from the tough spot, and go from there. It's going to be it'll be really interesting to see the next Vodnik bounce back performance, because he's had moments where he's had to bounce back already this year, and he's done it. He's also had moments where he's also hit the floor again, but he's a rookie. He's a young guy. He's figuring out in a tough environment to play and with a team that doesn't always perform. So, my alarm sounds and panic meter for Victor Vodnik is not high, because I do think he's got some talent to develop into something pretty nice for the Colorado Rockies. Still don't necessarily know if that's going to lock down the closer role for him, because that's something the Rockies really need to figure out. Who is going to close ball games for them? And maybe you don't need to know that answer really the rest of this year, because you've been able to piece it together and figure that out. But is Vodnik, is that the plan for the future? Is the plan to develop him into that closer role? Or are the Rockies going to be looking and doing other things in terms in ways to get closers and more bullpen arms in the offseason? We'll have to see. See what the Rockies do. We'll see how the Rockies respond. But let's talk more about some pitchers here, especially injuries relating to pitchers, because Ryan Feltner was pulled from the game yesterday and wasn't really clear why, but there was an update on that after the game. Let's talk about that coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. I love Game Time. It's super easy to use. They got all the great deals. They got the views from the seats. They know it's just simple. It's easy. Do I want to go to this event? Yes. Can I get tickets for it? Yes. Can I get a great deal? Yes. Can I know where I'm sitting? Yes. Game Time answers all of those questions for you. And it's not just baseball. It's all your favorite events. It's concerts. It's comedy. It's this. It's that. It's the other thing. Game Time has got you covered. You can see all of the low prices, and they even got the lowest price guaranteed. They got event cancellation protection, job loss protection. They got all sorts of stuff to make sure that you are taken care of as well when you buy a ticket. And like I said, one of my favorite things, you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly where you're going to sit and what that view will look like. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Shout outs to all of y'all for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB, because our pal Sully's got you covered for all things baseball all summer long, getting you ready for the playoffs and everything. So don't miss out. National analysis from our pal Sully. You know Sully from here on the Locked On Rockies podcast, filled in on the show before, been a guest before. So why not go enjoy some more great baseball talk there? You can also get all your Rockies play-by-play action on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app, so don't miss out on all that. Take your Rockies action on the go with you. All right, so we were all sitting there and we were wondering what the heck was happening with Ryan Feltner, and even the broadcast didn't know, and even like and they didn't lean on this too much. They didn't even mention it, but as they were trying to guess or figure it out, or as soon as they were looking into it, Spilly mentioned a disciplinary action about stolen bases allowed, but it seemed very uncharacteristic for Bud Black to do something like that, and uncharacteristic for him to do that. And it turns out it wasn't that. Turns out injury. Here we go. MLB.com. Injuries and moves. Feltner may hit the IL after start last one inning. Feltner pitched one inning against the Mets, giving up a run on 2 hits with 1 strikeout. He was removed from the game prior to the top of the second due to right shoulder and lat soreness. Rockies manager Bud Black said that Feltner will probably go on the injured list, and Feltner added, "It was one of those things where it was getting worse, and I didn't want to make it worse than worse." Feltner said it was definitely not getting better, definitely not loosening up, and was tightening up on me. So there you go. That's the answer of why Ryan Feltner wasn't in the game. And man, got to feel for him a little bit there, because I think this has been a frustrating season for him. I think this is a season of growing pains. This is a season of navigating the complexities of pitching at altitude, being a member of the Colorado Rockies, and what that's like. I know the Rockies offense hasn't always backed him up in terms of run production. And then you get to this point and you get a nasty little bit of shoulder soreness and this type of stuff. Hopefully it's not too big of a deal where it's impeding him for too long. But I mean, man, it's just, I feel like Feltner just hasn't caught a break for himself. I mean, the win-loss record isn't good, and I know that's a stat line that doesn't mean much overall in the world, in the game of baseball, but it does. I think it sticks out. It sticks out as something that you're just discouraged by. I bet you. I don't think Ryan Feltner is necessarily super excited by a 1-10 win-loss record, a 5 ERA over 123 starts, with a WHIP of 1.41. So I mean, it's been unfortunate. The Rockies have lost the last 7. That he's 0-7 there in his in the last 15 games, in the last starts there. It just, there's been flashes. There's been moments, right? There's been things where he hangs on and he battles through and he can do all right. But it's also just unfortunately been a situation for Feltner in control, control issues, the some home run issues, and now a little bit of some health issues. But again, it's not like it's not abysmal. And there is flashes that you see from Feltner that you do get excited by. So still a young arm, still hopefully can see a little bit more from him to finish out the season. But Feltner not removed for anything other than an injury concern yesterday. That is why he was removed from the game so early, and not because of the stolen bases or anything like that. So that's a bummer. Also on the pitcher injury news, and this would be a real shame for the Rockies, as this is it just gets in the way of the momentum of Kyle Freeland. Freeland left the Rockies series opener against the Mets on Tuesday with a blister on his left index finger. On Wednesday, manager Bud Black said Freeland's finger was better, but still a little tender. The club is hopeful Freeland will be able to make his next scheduled start, which is good news because that is an update from last time where it was believed that he wasn't going to make his next start. We're crossing our fingers that he's going to be fine, Black said. We'll probably know more in the next couple of days. So there is the Kyle Freeland update there. And I mean, Kyle Freeland, folks, I mean, it's a whole different guy. And after this stint here, after this return from the IL, he has been the Kyle Freeland that not only we expected, but a Kyle Freeland that it kind of impresses us as well, even with the mix of the tough outing in San Francisco there for the Rockies. But there's still been some great moments for Freeland, especially when it comes to the strikeouts, which have just been way up for Freeland here in this back half of the season since returning from the IL. Before the IL, Kyle Freeland didn't have a game with more than 4 strikeouts. He's now done that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of his last 7 starts. And that even includes the tough one there against San Fran and the early exit against the Mets. I mean, 7 strikeouts against the Mets, 6 strikeouts against the Angels, 8 strikeouts against the Giants. The strikeout pitch is there, and the strikeout pitch has been effective for Kyle Freeland, and something that definitely helps the Colorado Rockies is not only Kyle Freeland being healthy and in the game, but Kyle Freeland being able to strike batters out. Kyle Freeland being able to avoid the walks. He had 2 walks against the Mets there, and he's got walks in let's see, 5 out of his last 6 starts. 7, yeah, and the list goes on. Kyle Freeland has only had 1 walk-free performance this year. But there's a stretch of just 1 walk. Most of the games, it's just 1 walk or 2 walks there, something that you can survive and something that's manageable. But Kyle Freeland has made an impact for the Rockies. Kyle Freeland's return has been a huge deal for the Rockies, especially when it comes to performance. And let's see, since July, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, he's got 3 wins and only the 1 loss and a couple of no decisions in there, 2 no decisions for him. So he's been helping put the Rockies in winning positions. So him not missing starts would be great news for the Rockies, but at the same time, got to make sure that the health is the most important. There's really no purpose in really aggravating injuries or making things exponentially worse or making problems or issues worse at this stage of the season. You might as well just take care of your guys, stay healthy, get healthy, and let them see how they can react and go from there. All right. There is one game left to play with the Rockies and the Mets. The Rockies do have a chance to take the series here, but I'd like to see them be a better team when it comes to closing out series. We've seen the Rockies drop series finales pretty frequently, and I want to see that be changed today. We'll dive into all of that and more coming up on today's episode of Locked on Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes SupplyHouse.com. Order supplies from the website that's made for the skilled trades. Find thousands of parts from hundreds of brands in just a couple of clicks at SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com gives you 24/7 access to a huge selection of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with fast delivery anywhere in the U.S. Need help with an order? Get industry-leading after-sales service from their friendly and knowledgeable customer support team and talk to a real person every time. And there's great news for plumbers, technicians, and contractors. Being a pro has its perks. Trade industry professionals can join their free Trade Master program for free shipping and serious discounts on every order. That means over 100,000 pros already have trusted the Trade Master program to deliver results. Apply for your membership today and get a competitive edge on every order at supplyhouse.com/TM. Save money and time when you order online. Order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Folks, this is the Locked on Rockies podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We really do appreciate it. And we appreciate all the support when you like the videos, when you subscribe, when you leave 5-star reviews on your favorite streaming services. You're helping the show grow, helping out here, and really do appreciate that. We are still on the road to 1,000 YouTube subscribers before the end of the season. Would love your support there. Less than 100 to go. Go check it out. And you can see the video podcast. You can see my beautiful smiling face if you want to. But you can also just listen on your favorite streaming services. However, you check out Locked on Rockies, I thank you. And a reminder, all your Rockies play-by-play action is available free and streaming on your not free and streaming, I should say, because you need to have certain apps and things in certain areas. I shouldn't say that. But if you got SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app, they got you covered all season long. So there you go. Rockies taking on the Mets in the finale here. Little day game, little day baseball here for the Rockies. Austin Gomber taking on David Peterson. David Peterson 5-1 here with a 3.47 ERA, 1.42 whip in 59 2/3 innings pitched. He's struck out 47 while walking 27 and given up 6 home runs. That's going to be an interesting thing to watch there. Comparing here, the Peterson has just one less walk than Rockies pitcher Austin Gomber, who's on the bump here for the Rockies. And Gomber's been pitching in almost double the amount of innings there. So if the Rockies can be patient at the dish, the Rockies are going to be, if the Rockies can squeeze out a couple of walks here and be patient, they're going to be able to put base runners on. And we know what happens when they can get base runners on, especially at Coors Field. Would love to see it being a nice warm day game full of a lot of offense for the Colorado Rockies here, but I'd love to see patient at bats against Peterson in order to draw out some of those walks. That's definitely something you got to look at there. The innings pitched to the walk ratio isn't good. 6 home runs in that time. So not necessarily giving up a lot of big flies, but the Rockies have been continuing to hit them. I believe on the broadcast last night, they said the Rockies now have 3 players with 19 home runs. One of few teams in baseball to have that type of to have 3 players with 19 home runs. So we'll see if they can get to Peterson and maybe hit something out of the yard today, but just some solid offense, even just finding the gaps, finding some doubles and putting the ball in play. It should be the focus, especially if they can get some free passes from Peterson there. Gomber, it's got to be good Gomber, right? It's got to be the Austin Gomber that can get strikeouts. It's got to be the Austin Gomber that's avoiding the walks. It's got to be the Austin Gomber that's avoiding the long ball. 22 home runs given up for Austin Gomber this season, and this is a team that's got Pete Alonso. It's got Francisco Lindor. It's got people that can leave the yard. So the Rockies are going to have to make sure that they are they've been playing it close. They've been neck and neck in this series basically the entire time. This has got to be the one in which that the Rockies are able to take care of business. This is a series. This is a series win at home in a situation in which you can play spoiler a little bit here and keep shaking up the NL East. So the Rockies, let's see if they are going to be up for the challenge here. But unfortunately, the Rockies here are just not great in series finales. They lost the series finale against San Diego. They did win the series finale against the Angels, which is in extra innings there. Dropped the series finale to San Francisco. The big win there in the finale against Boston. Dropped the other series finale. So the second half they've been able to negate some of that. But if you go back into the first half of the season, a series loss there at the end. Not a series loss, but losing the last game of the series once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 7 times, 8 times, 9 times, 10 times, 11 times, 12 times, 13 times, 14 times, 15 times, 16 times, 17 times, 18 times, 19 times, and 20 times, 21 times. 21 times the Rockies lost the series finale in the first part of the season. And a lot of those were series that could have been wins as well. Some of those series were sweeps or Rockies losing 3 out of 4 in 4-game stretches. But there are series wins in there that are lost in that stretch of 21 losses in series finale games. So, what's it, mid-20s, couple of 23, 24 times the Rockies have lost games on series finales, and a good chunk of those would have been series wins. So if you change that narrative throughout the season, the Rockies would be in a better spot, but we can't do that. We try to do that a lot on this show. We try to wave the magic wand and try to reconfigure and retell the story and look at the what ifs and stuff. But the fact of the matter is they've been bad when it comes down. They've been bad at closing out series. They've been bad at playing full series. And it's not the worst stat in the world, but it is interesting to see that this team over 20 times this year has fallen short with a series on the line or with a chance to salvage a series or split a series. I mean, there's a lot of positives you can take away if you win the finale of a series. You can avoid a sweep. You can get the split. You can win a series. For the Rockies to fall short this many times, it just highlights the frustrations of the fact that the Rockies have come close to being a more impressive team, have again shown those moments of opportunity for to get closer into these games and to get closer into the standings and closer to the playoffs. But then they fall short in over and over again, consistently falling short in series finales. So let's hope that the Rockies continue to stay strong here with the beginning of the second half of the season and getting some more wins in the final games of series so they can get some more series wins. Not only just wins, but get series wins, because those are always a good time. First pitch today is at 1:10. Gomber taking on Peterson. So you can check out all the action there coming up for a little day baseball as the Rockies look for win number 43. We'll be breaking down the series, recapping it all, and looking ahead to the Braves series coming up on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Rockies, so don't miss that. But, folks, that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. Really appreciate all the support. Really appreciate when you find us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, when you like those videos, when you subscribe, all that good stuff. But in the meantime, for your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB. Sully's got you covered for all things Major League Baseball. And if you need more Colorado sports coverage, the Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs podcast, available free and streaming as well. Until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.